Ladies and gentlemen, we have had a long day, 9 long series or best of 3s, and we have made it to this point, our final match for WCS NA Challenger here at the Blizzard Arena. And of course, as you guys can see, to my right, my left, this side, we have all the matches that have happened so far. And you notice that they are, in fact, a lot of 2-0s, actually. It doesn't show the scores over here, but you guys do know that they are a lot of 2-0s that have happened. And now we hop into our last match. My name is Fear Dragon, and I am joined by Nathanius. Once again, Nathanius, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I like it. I'm doing well. Doing well.
Glad to hear.
I like the Joey impression.
Yeah. It's just, this is not just a general impression.
It's just a general? Is that just a general thing that happens?
It's a general thing.
Okay, fair enough. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our last match for the day is, of course, going to be between PandaBearMe and Cicada. This is going to be a rematch to determine who makes it to the playoffs in that second spot for Group C.
Cicada surprised us earlier today when he 2-0'd PandaBearMe. Definitely an unexpected result. PandaBearMe, he's a cool guy. He's a great Zerg player. He's a big up-and-comer in the North American scene. If you guys tuned into the Intel Extreme Masters Pyeongchang earlier this year in February, he was one of the American representatives. And he earned that spot. He is a very good player. It was surprising to see him upset by Cicada. And I'm still, when I go back into this, I still think to myself, PandaBearMe should win this match. He should still win this. Like, this is his match to win. He's the player that's supposed to get out second in this group.
Yeah, you know, he has a pretty stellar record versus Cicada in the past, outside of today, obviously. But in general, he's usually been a player that has been pretty dominant over Cicada. I think he's like sitting 6-2. He maybe only dropped like 3-4 games or something during that time. So he's been in a pretty strong position. But Cicada has gotten a lot better or something. He's got PandaBearMe's number today. PandaBearMe has got to mix it up, and talking a lot with Cats about the kind of volatility of PandaBearMe's playstyle, where he tends to play with a lot of extremes, either like extreme droning, extreme tech, extreme cheese. So maybe reel it in a little bit and just be prepared for, I guess, some of Cicada's shenanigans.
I mean, well, what did we have? We had the really fast Speedlings into Banelings versus a Hatch first in the first game.
Yep.
And that's one of those things that PandaBearMe can be like, I guess I kind of got built, caught off guard. My build was a little bit maybe greedier for my opponent. And then the second game, he tried to go Mutas, and his Spine Crawlers were just not in time. Or maybe it was just that, Cicada really punished him. He hit him really hard with the roaches right as the mutas were coming out, right before the spines finished. So you could say that they didn't really have like a dynamic back and forth long game, but I feel like in ZvZ that volatility is what gives a player like Cicada an edge, because he is unpredictable, and PandaBearMe played just 2 very straight up games against an opponent who was very aggressive.
Indeed. And this is really an interesting match again, because it's not only the decider of who's going to move on to the playoffs, but this is a really telling match, because if Cicada is able to eke this one out over PandaBearMe a second time, I really do feel like that solidifies him as not only a player that's been moving up in the scene, kind of hitting that higher tier of player.
It's a big level of validation for him as well.
And for PandaBearMe, it's also the opposite effect, where he is this player that's been on the brink of being able to break out as a player, and suddenly just kind of having this like really poor result right as he's on the verge of maybe quitting being full-time into StarCraft. I mean, it's going to be a huge blow for him, and maybe even moves him down a little bit in terms of what people expect from him.
Yeah, this is a very important match for both players. Big opportunities, positive and negative, especially for this man who wants to plant himself firmly as a pillar of the NA scene in the Northwest. It's PandaBearMe.
And down in the bottom right, we have the red Zerg player. It's Cicada.
Is he trying to say good luck, have fun in German? I feel like
Funen.
I feel like he did the I'm gonna try to make English words sound foreign, but I feel like all the German, I feel like all the German fans tuning in might be like really triggered.
Well, unfortunately, we did actually have a bit of a shorter day today, I feel like. So because a lot of the stuff is
Eurobros should still be up.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think he didn't get away scot-free with that one. Sometimes it's like, oh, the Challenger broadcast can last maybe until the point where it's midnight for Europe. They're going to bed.
Yeah, Group B took a little while, but now someone's gonna be like, Nathan, that's not fake German, that's fake Swiss or something. Well, whatever.
Which isn't it fake everything except for if it's a real language or a real thing?
That's true. Or maybe it's
just really bad fake.
Maybe we're just uneducated and he speaks German. Anyway, looking at the game, They're both doing the same thing, and there's something really interesting happening. You want to talk about Germany again?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not. We need to bring cats out here again for this.
Cats or Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. The openings are pretty much identical in this situation. That's worth noting because again, in that first series, we saw that Cicada
opened up with a little one base Ling Bane all in.
So PandaBearMe, and of course they haven't scouted each other yet, and that's another important thing to mention because we saw how PandaBearMe was able to punish Starkiller, I believe it was, in his ZvZ on kind of where the positioning of the Overlords were. And there's also some fun little mind games that go on with, oh, do you like move your queen from the natural out to go snipe off the Overlord, or you push it back and then open up an opportunity for your Lings to sneak past the Overlord without being scouted. So there's all kinds of small little details in ZvZ that happen, but they'll happen in, I would say, the next minute or two, not so much up until this point.
Yeah. The real questions become, I mean, we talk about ZvZ when you have the Ling speed openings. You want to know who's going to try to take the third first, or who's going to try to get some other tech. And here,
speaking of tech,
PandaBearMe opens with a quick evolution chamber. Now, this usually does mean +1 Carapace so that you can survive Baneling hits. It's more rarely. Usually, if you get a fast like Roach attack, it's actually like really, really fast. But like it would already have started by now, I think.
Yeah, the kind of danger about the Roach attacks versus a +1 Carapace player is that the +1 Carapace will allow your Lings, even if your opponent gets up the, I think it's a missile attack upgrade, then your Lings will survive 3 attacks from the Roaches as opposed to 2 attacks, which is a huge difference. It's an enormous difference in what it takes to kill off your opponent's Lings. So I think that oftentimes we do end up seeing that Carapace upgrade coming on out, and worth noting, Cicada does not make his way into the main base to scout that out, so he won't know that this kind of play usually is indicative of someone who's getting aggressive. But the funny thing is, so is Cicada.
Yeah, we have a good amount of Zerglings coming out for Cicada. Now that +1 Carapace will be really nice for defending against this attack, because it could just be these Lings, you can make Banelings, but this is going to hit quite a bit before we actually have that +1 Carapace. It's not halfway complete yet. So Cicada has a window where there's resources that have been invested by PandaBearMe that have not given any return yet. And that ties up his ability to make units to defend himself.
PandaBearMe, not only does he not have the Carapace upgrade coming out, he's only got 2 Lings. He's got 16 production, sure, but he doesn't even have his Baneling nest. His Spine Crawler is nearing completion, but he's already lost a couple of workers. He can afford to lose a few here and there as long as he survives.
Yeah, I mean, he gets the Spine, he gets a good amount of the Lings, a handful of drones, but not able to land a killing blow. Actually, I gotta say, Cicada has his 3rd base done, so getting a few worker kills, because of the need to replace those for PandaBearMe, it allows him to say, okay, maybe I'm gonna drone a little bit. Okay, he's droning a lot, which now I'm nervous for Cicada again if PandaBearMe just goes all out counterattack.
Okay, I'm really curious. What's he going to do with his next round of larva? Because he just saw the evolution chamber after he made that round of drones. And yeah, he's making non-stop units. He's throwing down the Roach Warren.
This is terrifying, though. This defensive Banelings, this +1 Carapace is not just for defending. It's also for attacking. And his Lings are going to have a much easier time evading the Baneling shots, or at least drawing out more of the Banelings to be blown up, as they are going to be able to survive 1 full explosion.
Okay, Carapace is now finished up. PandaBearMe gonna have a really nice time with those Ling versus Baneling trays. He's trying to move in with his own Banelings. He has to be a bit careful with those, because those will still die in 2 hits from his opponent's Banelings. But he's got plenty to spare. The problem is he just doesn't have any Lings to spare over here.
Cicada just needs to survive. He's at 40 drones versus 29. If he can just hold on against PandaBearMe and get the momentum of this game slowed down, he's going to be in a good spot. But we have the Roach Warren complete. He hasn't been able to get any out yet. He's still just playing with Zerglings. He needs to keep those drones that he's so greedily invested into alive.
Okay, he's starting to lose 1 or 2 of the drones, but he's still got 38 to 29. This is still very much Cicada's game. PandaBearMe is rallying out more and more units across the map, but they're getting picked off as they make their way in a limbo line over to Cicada's side of the map. And the rest of the harassment force in the main base, it's mostly been cleaned up as well.
PandaBearMe goes back to droning, and I have to say, the upgrades are going to favor him a little bit in the long run, but this was a really nice position for Cicada to be able to get that economic setup And we're gonna have to see though. I still like PandaBearMe going for the +1 melee to follow this up because he's.
Oh!
Well, there you go. 2 Lings sneaking inside the main.
You know, it's
take it all back.
I know it's funny too because he kills off 9 workers, but he's actually. Oh, okay. Now he gets out with that round of drone finishing. He actually is in the inverse position that he was in from before, where he is now at 39 workers.
Those 2 Lings that he hid from us in the corner of his base actually just flipped this game completely on its head. So that's a huge win right there for PandaBearMe. And now Cicada's on the back foot. We see him making a ton of Zerglings and Banelings to try and do something. But you know, those Lings are also going to have +1 melee soon, and they are just going to be able to, once the Banelings are removed from the equation, eradicate Cicada's forces. He's going to be down 2 whole upgrades. He has some roaches, but I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Oh my god, so many of Cicada's Banelings just died right there. He's only got 2 left over on the right-hand side, and even those don't get the most amazing hits. He's really just relying on the roaches now. The roaches are very powerful. PandaBearMe's Roachborn is only now finishing up a +1 melee. Maybe what PandaBearMe needs to hold here, but he needs 1 good Baneling connection. He's not finding it.
Yeah, this game has gotten such a knife's edge. I mean, if the Banelings can even get onto the drones, the damage potential here is cataclysmic. He's down 5 workers. He needs to get a lot more damage done. Those upgrades are going to allow for a counterattack to deal potentially game-ending damage for PandaBearMe. His drones are coming out the line once again. The Banelings are there. GG's called. Cicada brings the game back. And whew, I was sweating.
Yeah, that was
a
back and forth.
That was an intense ZvZ, man.
Whew. Yeah, and I know that both of those players are probably going to feel a little bit unhinged after that one. That was a pretty intense game back and forth where I think both of them felt like they had leads that were then reclaimed by their opponents, and then they reclaimed it themselves. It was just a little bit of madness, but looking back at it, I do feel like Cicada really did show that he was able to secure a good position.
Yeah, I feel like the absolute play of the game there was Cicada's decision to pull the trigger when he did. Because if he tried to rebuild any of those drones, or if he was droning while his drones got blown up, I don't think he can actually put out enough units to kill PandaBearMe there before that economic advantage turns over. So he went into those Lings at the perfect time, had just enough roaches to help pick off a few of the Banelings despite being down on upgrades. And his macro, he cranked out a ton of Lings behind it. It was, that's just one of those games where there was a very small moment for him to lose it or go all in for it. And his control, again, was great. He forced the enemy units into the position he needed them to be, and very impressive game from Cicada.
Yeah, and even just the defense that he had versus PandaBearMe's massive Ling and Baneling flood was very, very well done. Because remember, he was at an inferior number of Lings at the very beginning of that. He didn't have as many Banelings, nearly as many Banelings as PandaBearMe did, and PandaBearMe had the Carapace upgrade, and still he managed to hold on and not only just overcome and defend, he had an advantage on not only drones, but also army supply after that. That was really, really well executed.
Yeah, just a great game by Cicada for ZvZ, especially not the sort of all-in-ish type play that we saw him go for in the first map. Still very aggressive, but honestly, I mean, aggression that's one of the ways you define ZvZ.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair way of putting it. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, we may be seeing a change in the wins as we spawn up here in the top left. Top of the blue Zerg player sitting down 0-1 on the verge of being eliminated from WCS Challenger. It's PandaBearMe.
Getting into some struggles against this man with a fast pool on the way. Damn, Daniel, he's Cicada in the bottom right.
Okay, and remember, this is a bit of a throwback to the same build that he went for in PandaBearMe in game 1 of their first series.
It all comes full circle, getting back into his head.
Oh no, and it may end up being the exact same thing from PandaBearMe with the hatch gas pool. The real question is going to be, when does he scout this out? When does he see the flood of Lings, and is he able to get up a defense in time?
Cicada has, I mean, his ZvZ seems to be pretty on point.
Yeah.
I don't know that I liked him trying to play so straight up versus Masa, but for his ZvZ against an opponent of PandaBearMe's caliber, who I would say is still a level or 2 above Cicada, he is really playing well, and this has been a treat to watch. He's not pulling back, he's not holding back. Just great gameplay from our Zerg.
Okay, first 6 lings making their way across the map. Keep an eye on that mini-map because you want to see where are those overlords of PandaBearMe. When is he going to get the scouting information? Is he going to? Okay, yes, he is, and it looks like those lings are not going to make any attempt to evade the overlord. If they can cut to the left, there is an opportunity to try and evade them and go up the ramp and take a super roundabout path, but Cicada is saying, no, I don't care if you see this. I'm still going to just get the damage done, and he's going for the Baneling Nest behind this as well.
Yeah, so this is going to be it. There's not a whole lot that we saw happen to defend this last time. The drones came off, but it denies the ability to mine for PandaBearMe, so he hurts his own economy so much in trying to defend against this, and he needs to save that hatchery. But Cicada's build, the way that he's laid it out, there's so many Zerglings, and we know that he's going to try to get... Ooh. Oh, he does grab one of those drones, but we know he's going to try to also surround those eggs when the Zerglings finish hatching so that he can just kill them immediately. There we see the lings are swarming around the eggs, just saying, you can't get away.
Okay, he does manage to get out with a lot more lings this time. He's lost 1 drone, which definitely hurts, but he is going to be able to force this back for a little bit. He has to be careful not to overcommit. He should know that there are a couple more lings coming out, just 2 more lings coming across the map. And
he's just got to wait for speed and get Banelings ready to go. I think that should be enough here. There is a spine crawler on the way.
He just saw more lings making their way across the map, though. He needs to retreat back.
And there's more. He knows that the spine crawler is about to finish. If those lings get killed, that's going to really hurt.
Oh, the Baneling snipe off is actually really crucial there. That was the only Baneling, I believe, that was being morphed in for Cicada. But PandaBearMe takes down the Baneling at the cost of all of his lings.
Yeah, now that spine crawler should be able to finish up, but it's going to come down to the way that he uses the Banelings. Does get another 2 drones there for a ling. Not bad.
Remember that when you have a 3 drone advantage, 2 drones is a pretty big deal to be losing right now.
Yeah, this is big. If he gets what he needs to do is get enough Banelings to break this rant position by blowing up the spine crawler or blowing up the queens. Now the spine you're going to do the bonus damage too, so that's going to be ideal for the Banelings since there aren't really any Zerglings or drones here to help fight. He needs to get the lings on one side of him and then just help bash this down. Let the Banes hit it. The spine is down. The lings are trying to break through. PandaBearMe, he should have transfuses on both of these queens to buy himself a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Gets one off.
Wait until the absolute last second, and he's doing a decent job of holding on for a little bit longer. That 1 queen, though, getting awfully low. He's trying to let some of his lings tank in front of that lower health queen, and I think he's actually managing to do it. There's only 3 or so Banelings left and 2 lings. He's starting to clean this up.
And PandaBearMe loses the queen.
Whoa.
Cicada makes his way across the map with more lings. Do not stop flooding. PandaBearMe had his drones inside the main, though. He's had that income advantage, but without the ability to inject, that's going to slow down the econ substantially.
He also doesn't have his own Baneling Nest, so he's mining that 1 drone on gas. But he hasn't really had the minerals to invest into Zergling, sorry, like a Baneling Nest or anything.
18 workers is like perfect for saturating a mineral line, since at least the 17th and 18th are still within like 90% efficiency, I think.
Yeah.
But so having the 1 drone on the gas isn't the worst thing ever. He'd really ideally like to move back down to his natural, which has been the point of contention in this game. And I think with the extra income he has, getting another spine or something like that is not a bad idea.
Okay, he has a lot of lings on the other side of the map. The queens are back over here. A couple of drones making their way to the low ground, but he does have a counterattack on the other side of the map. Oh, he's hiding his lings in the corner.
Did he not see this?
Oh my God.
Actually, some of Cicada's lings were stuck on his own wall.
Aha! The accident that turned into a huge benefit there. He has the units in defense.
Is that a good way to go full NA?
Okay, I mean, the downside is that his attack also didn't have that much
He was
power.
missing all of his units in the attack.
So in the other side of it, he didn't really get the kill on the hatchery that I think he was almost trying to go for right there. And now PandaBearMe has had even more time off of that superior economy to get up the Baneling Nest, and now he's going to have his own Banelings.
Yeah, this game's been weird. Cicada's really trying to close this one out. He did get a few more drones squeezed out back home. Of course, he wants to be the aggressor, but I have to ask myself, at this point, is it really beneficial for him to try and just go back to this?
He's going to kill this.
Rip drone.
Oh, right before he had 300 minerals. He was at 275, and that drone ends up getting picked off.
Not a fun way to take it out. And oh, look at this. More lings running around the side. 1 hero Baneling. Well, not a hero anymore.
Well, hero in Cicada's heart, maybe, but nowhere else, really. We end up seeing another drone coming down to that low ground. Gonna become a hatchery, but there's a lot of lings here.
Yeah, he already has the shutdown wave here ready to go. He's got a good surround on that hatch,
that micro.
and he's gonna force the cancellation.
Oh, dangerous game. He goes after the Banelings. He does manage to cancel one of them with his lings, and he's gonna be able to buy himself some time. Gets a full scout and confirms, okay, you don't have a Roach Warren. You're still just mining 3 drones on gas to make Banelings. You are so all in at this point.
Yeah, Cicada really doesn't have a lot to work with. He can try to build drones, but we're just in that situation where having the injects on 2 hatcheries means that he's got twice the larva. He has twice the ability to make anything. And even with a similar drone count, it doesn't matter because he's also got them spread out across more bases, which means they're mining more efficiently, which means more money, less problems.
Okay, Roach Warren, once that finishes up and PandaBearMe even gets up 3-4 roaches, this is going to become a bad situation becoming worse.
Yeah, Cicada just taps out. I think he realizes in that situation, he's like, well, my hatch isn't done. My opponent's mining off 2 bases. I'm starting to float money because I can't build anything. Yeah, let's just go to the next game. He's like, I'm dead.
Yeah, because sometimes it's gonna just feel worse if you sit around in the game and say, oh yeah, you know, maybe I can come back in this game, but then you're just putting yourself through this like horrible game that you don't really want to be playing.
Yeah, that's what they call it. It's the thing that kills the spirit of the underdog is when they sit there and it's like, well, you could tap out or you could let him beat your face to a bloody pulp and then you have to be carried out in a stretcher, but he's not gonna do that. He's gonna, all right, I'm gonna tap out, I'll come back for the next round. And it's a 1-1 now in this series, so he's got one more opportunity to upset PandaBearMe. And I think with the way that game started, PandaBearMe was definitely sweating it. The spine got broken, the queens got broken, but he barely held by getting his drones back inside of his base rather than letting them die outside.
Yeah, very narrow defense there from PandaBearMe. So Cicada may opt to do something cheeky again. Again, he is known as a player that is not afraid to throw out a lot of the cheese, and sometimes he's almost a little bit too unafraid to throw out the cheese.
Yeah.
But PandaBearMe clearly succumbed to it once or twice, and when he tried his own little shenanigans of that fast 2-base Spire play, it didn't work out at all. So I'm almost more curious on what PandaBearMe is going to try and attempt this game, because I would really like to see him just play a super safe and normal game, because I feel like that's still going to be his best bet.
Yeah, Cicada is still the wild card in this match. He's still the player that has something to prove in terms of going from being a nobody to somebody. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. He's just not the player that people talk about in the NA scene. PandaBearMe is currently that guy where it's like, well, he's not crazy popular, but we know PandaBearMe is good. Yeah. We know that he should be making his way to the playoff bracket for NA Challenger if he wants to get that notoriety he deserves. But Cicada, he's just coming out of left field with a really good ZvZ match.
Yeah, I almost feel like PandaBearMe is in one of the worst and most unfortunate spots of a player, which is you're good enough that people know who you are, but you're not good enough that people care that much about you.
Yeah.
So it's like you can get results and people are like, oh yeah, I guess I could see that. So you never really get, you need like one really big result to make a name for yourself now. But okay, we're going to be starting down here. In the bottom left, on top of said player, it's going to be our blue Zerg, PandaBearMe from Meliora.
And his opponent in the northeast, the red Zerg player, he is Cicada, formerly known as Volts. And the interesting thing about Challenger is the way that it's been laid out this year is, I mean, last year there really wasn't a lot of time for Challenger. I mean, most of it was like the ladder qualifier that took place almost within like a week or two of the actual event. But we've got a lot of time before we go to Austin, before we go to Valencia and Montreal. So when we get to those tournaments, the story of Challenger is going to be really interesting to see which players are able to become the champions in that early May, who holds on to that going into the circuit events when they start up again, and seeing how those champions from the regions place in the circuit events throughout the year, because, you know, it's a good bit of motivation. This gives you a good kick. A lot of players practice on the ladder, or they'll do custom games, you know, yada, yada, yada. But because there is something here with money and WCS points on the line, it gives you that extra little bit of motivation to really work hard. And then you're like, well, I mean, if I just keep this practice regimen up, I'm probably going to Austin to play in a few weeks after this. And just, you know, this is what I mean when I say it's getting people rolling on the WCS circuit, getting ready for everything, and potential future Challenger seasons as well.
Absolutely, and it's just the confidence boost also, especially if you have a player like Cicada who manages to make into the playoffs and maybe even makes it one round from the playoffs and then like round 8 to the semifinals or something, you feel really good about yourself. And when you go into all the rest of the events for the rest of the year, and I've seen this kind of effect where players will have that good result and they'll feel good and then they'll start playing better because they feel good about themselves.
Yep, it's that post-tournament high that you get. You can still get it from online tournaments like this, where you finish up, you're like, you know what? I did better than I thought I would, or I realized what I need to work on to improve. I'm going to come back stronger than ever, you know, bust out in the open bracket of Austin potentially, and just keep working very hard. And that's the spirit of the WCS system. Challenger here is where you get that. It's about as low cost to get into this as you can. It's online, so these players can come from all over the United States and everywhere in North America to compete and prove themselves in Challenger.
Indeed, and I know that PandaBearMe also, he's one of those players I think could also use one of those boosts right now. He's had a rough couple of months. He had a great showing at Pyeongchang, but ever since then, I think he's sort of been hurting a little bit with WSG qualifiers and everything else going on. As I've mentioned before many times in the broadcast. But okay, we got PandaBearMe going for the fast layer. Again, this is, God, I feel like this is actually starting to look a lot like that first series in a lot of ways.
Do you think that Cicada will go for the big Roach play pre-layer? I guess. He hasn't started up his tech, but I'm waiting for the Roach Horn now. I mean, he's building drones, so it doesn't look like it would just be a Ling Bane attack. There's the Roach Horn.
Okay.
Oh my God. Okay.
So here's the interesting thing. In the other series, the reason why Cicada went for the big attack was because he got a full scout out and saw the lair, he saw all the gas geysers, he saw everything he needed to see. And this game, he sees a spine crawler, which can indicate that someone's going to go for this 2-base Spire play. And at this point, it's also worth noting the Overlord position for Cicada is not actually by the third. So he's seen that there is at least a late third, but now he confirms there's no third.
Actually, I like that you bring up the Spine Crawler, though. He has enough supply. He just finished a few Overlords that's going to line up with this Roach Horn. And I think if you see this, because both players open Ling speed, that first gas had to be in the main. So he's at 3 gases. What now with no third base? What else could it really be other than going for this Spire? So he does get the Roach Horn. He does start pumping out tons of Roaches. And you're right, Dragon, this is starting to look a lot like their last series, because I think he's just going to build a bunch of Roaches, flood Lings behind it, and try to kill PandaBearMe before the mutas become a factor.
Yeah, but Nathaniel, you so aptly pointed out in that last time they faced off against each other that PandaBearMe was maybe like 5 to 10 seconds late on his Spine Crawlers, finishing up right before the Roaches arrived. And he has an opportunity to correct that, but he's starting up the Spine Crawlers now. I think it's going to be almost the exact same timing.
Like, God, you're right. This is it. Except this time, he's building 6 more Spine Crawlers.
Okay, you know what? Okay, he's building another...
7 spines is better than the 5 he had before.
I think these spines are like 4 seconds faster. I think most of these are going to finish up in time.
It's deceptive. They do take a while to build. They're close to finishing, but for a spine, it means like 10 seconds. Up? But backing off here is going to be really difficult. I mean,
these Lings,
he's not breaking 7 Spine Crawlers that easily. The Banes have to get right in the middle of all of them.
Okay, and they get some decent connections. The Banelings do. The Roaches trying to bust forward, but this is just a wall that you cannot break this easily. The Queens are all still alive. One of them finally goes down, but it is Cicada that retreats with his tail between his legs.
I don't really know what he's going to do from this point. Now that the Roaches are gone, the Mutas can focus down Banelings. It's going to be so much easier for PandaBearMe to defend this because he still has a few Spine Crawlers at home.
Cicada moves over to the third base like, let me snipe that. Oh, you still don't have it. Right. Oh, boy. What do you do from here?
You could try to trade the Lings out and try to clean up what's left of the defenses, but the Mutas will still kill him, and then he cannot get a third base like that without being able to move spores. We have 6 Spore Crawlers being made for Cicada, and he needs to get creep spread out towards his third. He needs to get spores on that third.
Yeah, I think the big name of the game here might actually be exactly what Cicada's trying to do right now, which is just deny a third, keep him at home, and prevent PandaBearMe from taking a third. Because these mutas, if they are at home defending, they're not actually killing off or harassing Cicada's third, which now has a Spore Crawlers.
And he can still have the economic advantage with this, despite the fact that he's building a bunch of spores. His workers are spread out. These 2 Banelings, I don't know how they ninja'd their way in there, but that could have been huge.
Yeah, it didn't actually kill off any real workers there, and the Lings are slowly getting picked away at by these mutas, but the time has been bought.
Yeah, the layer's done. We see the Hydralisk Den booting up now for Cicada. And despite flopping really hard on the Roach phase of this game where he tried to attack pre-Muta, he's recovering quite nicely. He's got his Link surrounded on the third base. Another cancel here would be huge. There is a Baneling. It's taken care of. But the Mutas and the Spines are there. And that Muta count, he's actually investing a lot into the Mutas. He's not looking to make a transition into something like Roaches behind it.
Yeah, and I think it's almost like out of force at this point, just because you have to remember that, yes, PandaBearMe did hold there, but like you said, he built like 7, 8 spine crawlers, and that means that you just don't have the minerals to invest into the Lings, and even if he did, it's so hard to even compete with Cicada's Ling count, so he just invests more into the Mutas, says, to hell with Roaches, if I just can make these Mutas effective, then I can get something done with them, and maybe I can turn this game around. Even if you have the Spores, that's sometimes not enough of an answer.
Nope. We have the Mutas coming in. They're going to try to pick off a few of these units, but the Hydras with the Spores, good combination, very good defensively. The question is, what is he just going to try to move across the map with Hydras? That can be dangerous. Are we going to see it followed up with something else, or is he going to try to play it slow? You have a few options, but when because the thing is, not every Zerg player does it like this, where they will just keep building Mutalisks. Oftentimes, you'll see them build those Mutas, force the reaction, and then make a switch into a big Roach play. But that's not coming. So I guess as long as he just builds Hydras, he gets stronger over time, but that Muta count will eventually be able to knock down the Spores.
Oh, I mean, they can knock down more than the Spores. If the Hydras are in low numbers in a location, the Mutas can pick off the Hydras as well, and that also hurts the eventual attack for Cicada, who has had, sure, a superior economy for a long time, but it's finally been caught up with. He still has the kind of, I guess, the lasting effect from having had the higher drone count for a while, so his economy, I would still say, is a little bit better than the PandaBearMe's, but as he gets these Hydras picked off, as he loses a few drones here and there to the Mutas, I do like PandaBearMe's position more and more.
Yeah, the map control he has with those is so nice. It looks like we did have a little counterattack as well on that third base. Now, PandaBearMe does have his own third at the moment, so he's taking a fourth base. Mutalisks equals map control. In a situation like this, where he's snowballing and not stopping to build the count, if those Hydras try to leave the base for Cicada, we're going to see the Mutas continue to bring this sort of pressure. He's just sniping Overlords left and right, picking off random units, but also the Ling Muta will be able to just deal with just a straight-up Hydra move out. So he has to add Roaches into this to help defend against it. But without +1, the Roaches actually aren't even going to be that good against the Lings anyway.
Yeah, the funny thing also here is that you have to remember, PandaBearMe does have a Baneling nest. If he decides to stop investing into Mutas because he thinks that there's going to be a big move out soon, he can just invest into a lot of Banelings. Remember, there's not exactly a Roach Warren, or sorry, there's not a lot of Roaches coming out until just now for Cicada. So I was going to say, if you can still get some good Baneling connections, he can take care of the Hydras and the Lings, but he can take care of that.
Down all the Queens, gets the Spore in the main. All the Overlords are exposed. He can just kill everything. He's going to supply block him. I mean, he's sending that supply cap to the Shadow Realm, Fear Dragon. He won't be building anything for quite a while. And that Lair tech was also a bit vulnerable, but the Hydras come back. However, we see it again. It's just not the capability of moving a whole lot out on the field. He's gotten to the point where he's comfortable to send some Hydras out. Let's see, the Muta count is currently at 22.
Yeah, falling a little bit as he loses a few to the Hydras right there, and the Hydras also start to fall a little bit as well. But man, Cicada is still supply blocking. He's got 6 Overlords about to finish up.
I love that he got Bane speed too. That's going to help a lot. A couple Banelings with these Mutas, and the Hydras are super dead. And they're going to try to crash through, get a good position. They make beautiful connections, and now the Mutas are able to challenge the army. He's still going to wait for the next rally point. He doesn't need to fight out in the open. There's no reason to use the Mutas for a direct engagement without the Spine Crawlers or the Zerglings to support.
Oh, this is such smart play from PandaBearMe, taking the opportunities where he can find them. There are a couple of Roaches that segmented themselves off to the north side while the Mutas hunt down the Hydras. They will be able to go after some of the drones, pulling some of PandaBearMe's army back, but he's actually not pulling back. No, he is pulling back the Mutas. Oh, he's pulling back only a segment of the Mutas. Oh, I love this.
He wants to chase down the Hydras that are out on the field. And you also have to remember that with the positioning of the earlier Hydralisks, as this base does get picked off, that Cicada lost a lot of the defenses he had in his main base, so if he didn't rebuild those spores...
Oh, he didn't.
Yep, that Hydralisk Den is a big, juicy target on it that says, kill me.
Oh, Nate, there's only 16 Hydras right now, and now that he's lost that, he's got 4 more on the way, so it'll go up to 20, but every single Hydra he loses is going to be really painful now.
Yep, he cannot replace them anymore. I mean, Hydralisk Dens themselves don't take a crazy amount of time to build, so it's not like it's irreplaceable, but he just can't build anything for a while. So Lings are going to come inside his base. The Hydras are too slow to actually move out on the map and help actually attack, because the Mutas are going to constantly come back. He's like, oh, more Overlords. Thanks, my dude.
Yep. Picking off some of the Hydras as well, as he just has overwhelming numbers of Mutas, and the Hydras aren't all grouped up together. So he dives in. This one, I think, is still going to go PandaBearMe's way.
And this is where you see the Mutalisks win the game versus Hydras. It's all Ogre now. GG, well played. Good luck in top 8. PandaBearMe takes the rematch in our final series of the day and moves on to the playoffs for WCS Challenger America.
And once again, I feel like for the 3rd group in a row, we have what a lot of people consider probably the expected results if you just look at who made it out of the groups. But it's the way in which it happened, the kind of little bits and little upsets that happen that really make things interesting. And I feel like that's a cool thing about Challengers. You get to see players who don't even necessarily make it out of the group. They don't make it out to the playoffs, but they still give a really good showing, and I think change people's minds about them.
Very impressive games from Cicada. It was a treat to watch. Even in that last game, despite being behind, he hit that window just a little bit too late to try and get him before the Mutas. And even then, he did a great job of putting pressure on with the Zerglings to deny the 3rd base time and time. He also did a good job of throwing those roaches away as soon as he was able to get a window of opportunity against the Mutalisks. Like, a lot of good things happened. PandaBearMe definitely did a great job of muscling him out in the end, but fun match today. I think this Group C for NA was pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of 2-0s, but we finished on that 2-1. That was definitely a very fun and close match. I think my favorite part of that last series was PandaBearMe learning his lesson from the first series where he got lost when his opponent was going for that big roach bus and he was going for the Mutas, and his adaptation wasn't, I'm going to build my spine crawlers earlier. It wasn't like, I'm going to just not go for that kind of defense. He's like, I'm just going to build 4 more spine crawlers, then I'm just going to double the spine crawler count.
It did make all the difference at the end. I mean, first of all the spines got to shoot a few times.
Yep.
But the last 3 spine crawlers that were there are what cleaned up, and you're like, well, if he built 4 less, like, yeah, he actually would have died again. I'm sure that Cicada would have been able to kill him.
Yeah. Really, really sick group, and I think it's always fun to just see the adaptations of players during the middle of the day, and the kind of you'd make your changes and you see the progress and the growth of a player during the course of a single day across different series. So, ladies and gentlemen, that does mean that we are going to have finished up all of our matches for WCS NA Challenger. A lot of really cool matches. You guys kind of saw how many of the matches happened. We ended up seeing that both Masa and PandaBearMe advanced from NA. We also played Europe earlier today as well.
Yep, the European groups were exciting and fun. I mean, Cyril coming out in first place, no surprise. I think a lot of people right now still consider him to be the best, if not the best, Zerg player in Europe. He won the first circuit event of the year, so he's done a great job. The results of all of today's matches have been really fun. Still comes down, I mean, you have to say big congratulations to the first place guys. Masa and Cyril really delivered everything that we were talking about.
Yeah. And of course, with Europe, in case you guys did miss it, if you're a North American waking up a little bit later, I know you college students waking up at 1 p.m. I see you. I was you once. But of course, we did have some really, really great games. As Nathanius mentioned, it was Cyril advancing out in first place, as well as some also really, really awesome stuff happening in the rest of those groups.
Cyril and Drogo did a great job. Group D, as you guys saw, is going to be on April 29th. So not too far away. And then the playoffs, May 12th, May 13th. You're going to find out the champions for Europe and America. Should be awesome.
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to Group D. This is like where I get a little bit excited about my North Americans. I have North American bias. In case you didn't know, I have a lot of North American bias.
Of course.
The NA Group D, I think, is something I'm really looking forward to, Nate, and I'll tell you why. All right, I'm going to hype this up just for a moment. We have some of the coolest players in this group. Okay, we got Puck, who's just always very exciting.
Yeah.
He's got a very flashy style. I know you're a big Puck fan. You got No Regret, who's also just, I mean, GSL, Codas, two-time No Regret.
Dude.
Crazy guy, has an absurd play style. We got Raze, who's a former Terran player who just pulled a
just switched to Protoss,
switched to Protoss.
Yeah.
He has been laddering his Protoss for, I want to say, close to like 2-3 months. And nobody took him seriously. Everyone thought he was just off racing for fun on the ladder, but he's really been training, and he's gotten to a point where I would consider him one of the better Protoss players in North America. Like, this is such a sick group. This is just going to be so much fun.
So that's something to look forward to. I'm excited for that. Hopefully you guys are too. Yeah, it was good times. It was a good group. Good casting with you, Ravi.
It was a great casting with you as well as with Cats. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching WCS NA Challenger as well as EU Challenger. We'll be back next week. We'll see you guys there.